Clarity isn't only just a, one, or I should say 2 asset company. You do have a pipeline. It doesn't get as much attention. The focus has been on prostate cancer, but I'm well aware that the science that you've developed, the molecules that you've developed in the broader space are intriguing to me, and I hope others. Can you talk to sort of the pipeline? You've got a program in neuroendocrine tumours, a diagnostic asset there, but then also more broadly what you kind of expect over the next couple of years.
So we are a science-based organization. So you'd expect we would leverage a platform as hard as we can, diagnostically and theranostically. The nets is with SARTATE. We've seen the data there. We used a similar strategy, except we didn't optimize with a biospecific here. We used ours and we went head-to-head.
Yep.
And the disco data was, once again, phenomenal. And we didn't need, because what we're looking at is not locking in a single time point just based on the isotope. Or just because we can image next day, it's next day is the best. No, we optimize that. And it's just a few hours later, the difference between SARTATE and the standard of care imaging. But the data was phenomenally different. And we had an issue in that trial because we're detecting so many lesions that it was overwhelming sites, which was an incredible situation that we had to adapt to. But it was incredible. And then when we followed up and did that trial, which was great, it was well controlled and the like, and followed up, the difference between the two agents was just phenomenal. So that's great. SARTATE's now, we've spoken to the FDA about it. We're progressing a phase 3 clinical trial. Not as many patients, 70 patients. And we'll look to, get that done over the next couple of years as well and get that product in the market. Smaller patient population, it's not in the billions of dollars, it's in the hundreds of millions, but still a great follow-up. But science is great. And moving into things like breast cancer, key to us, so moving out of prostate, and then NETs has been a big area for radiopharm already. Moving into breast cancer is exciting for us. Trastuzumab, that preclinical data was fantastic. We're not big fans of antibodies, but that's an amazing antibody. And we're hoping once again to produce some great efficacy, but looking at the adverse events there is critical. Where there's an ADC approach at this point in time, and it's a good product, but hopefully we can manage maybe those AEs a little better, and we'll see through science. We've taken the FAP approach. A few groups have done that. We didn't like FAP as a single targeting agent again. We went back to the benchtop. We reduced the bispecific. The uptake was great. But FAP is still finding its place in the world. And we'll see how that maps out. But we'll get that first in human. We'll see what that human data looks like, and then start to map out which approach we take. Now the other areas, we think it's important for a company like us to look at alphas. We just have some of the only people in the world that have commercialized an alpha. So we're a little bit more cautious on how to use alphas. And to make sure that we have a safe approach, which is critical, because we think quality of life is should be a key part of a patient's final months or years, and the alphas, if they're not highly specific, suffer quite significant side effects. But it doesn't mean we're not looking at it. We are. We've got an alpha program in place. We are looking at also some better chemistry around that. We think there's a lot more work that can be done on the alpha strategies, and we are looking at those now, and to implement maybe a slightly different strategy, which would be really cool. We have been, I know it's a buzzword now, AI. We've been utilizing AI now for a couple of years, more on the identification of targets, building new molecules, and the like. We have found similar issues with AI as others. It speaks with the confidence of a young male. And it's not always right. And the problem with science is we need to validate. Every time we find something, it's not good enough to be theoretical. You know how we work? We need to validate these targets. We've had some success in that, and hopefully we see some of that come to the fore in the not too distant future. But there are some hiccups in the use of AI we've found. And it's going to be interesting to see how that strategy unfolds. But there's very few groups that are doing the type of innovation we're doing. You know, we see the radio farm market being dominated by old assets. We think there's so much improvement that can be done with a new way of thinking about, you know, we've got a platform technology, so we can run all of our products through the platform, which is very unique. We're not in a whole bunch of isotopes, which all individually need supply chains. Actinium is one of those. Actinium still needs to build its supply chain. How that gets going is going to be interesting. The other isotope, like lead, you know, 10-hour half-life is a very short half-life for a therapy, and it's a lot of energy that you've got sitting there in a generator, you know, close to the patient. We find, and it's great that people are asking that question. We hope there's some success there. Can we treat cancers better? Yes.
Yep.
But we find there's a lot of science that still needs to be done there. We'll be looking at strategies where we're, you know, the supply chain, like copper-67, linear accelerators. Investing in linear accelerators, you make more copper-67.
Yep.
The science is done. But looking at these other isotopes, there's still a bit of work. So we'll see how that pans out. There's a lot of things that we're doing, though, in that preclinical discovery, and then looking at some pure chemistry work. And hopefully we can release a few of those things to the market in the not too distant future.
And I imagine it's quite difficult because you're sort of balancing half-lives with chemistry, with targets, and trying to identify all of these things. If you had to pick a new sort of indication, so you've got prostate, NET, and breast cancer that you've kind of released either clinical or preclinical data on, is there a cancer that you kind of see as quite... you know, you could target with a radioligand therapy as an obvious candidate?
Yeah, it's a great question. There's a lot of cancers we would love to do better. The issue around some of the cancers, I'll give an example, because it's easier that way, and then we can talk around. We would love to head into more difficult cancers like brain cancer, but it comes with issues. The blood-brain barrier, which is there to protect us, actually doesn't do us any good in the situations where we have a brain cancer and the blood-brain barrier stays intact. We are looking at potentially some mechanisms in which we can pass the blood-brain barrier with, you know, with a product similar to ours. And if we can overcome that strategy, that's fantastic. But it's such a difficult question to ask, particularly in the context of the public markets or things like that. So we were in neuroblastoma, and we had the issues there, like really small patient population and the sickest of sickest patients. We're dosing at such high levels of SARTATE, which still had a fairly good safety profile, even at the high doses. We never dosed patients with that high dose to see whether we can drive a therapeutic effect. One of the patients, unfortunately, was really sick with a brain lesion and passed away. And then suddenly it looks like it's part of the trial. There was a discussion whether it's part of the trial or was it our product, and couldn't decide which one was which because of the sick patient. So sometimes they have to be balanced, particularly when you're in the capital markets and where you go, which I think is it means you don't take the risks that you'd want to take in trying to develop these products for broader humanity who may benefit from it. But, you know, the key things for us are high unmet need, an ability for us to be efficacious, and to look at when we look at the high unmet need in a large population, which can work with the current paradigm of therapy, really that's what we're looking for. And there's a few areas that we are focused on now to see whether, you know, there's a target there, what's the expression like, what is really the current treatment paradigm for it, and to see whether we can have some change there. And I'm excited about some of the things that are in development.